What did we really gain from the 1995 World Cup? Sure, we were all giddy with excitement, but did the promise of the Rainbow Nation fizzle into nothing, or worse still, did it become a nightmare? Has the sport truly been transformed? Are we still united as a nation in our support of the Boks? And should that even be what they are still called? Or is that a relic from the past? The last of what remains of a past that even they can no longer live up to. Joining us now on the line is sports political writer Dougie Oakes on the line from Cape Town. Dougie, good afternoon to you, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon.
What did we miss in that euphoric moment of 1995?
First of all, I think a lot of promises were made about how rugby and the World Cup was going to benefit all South Africans, especially the poorest of the poor. And these ranged initially from, a full 2 years before the World Cup, in fact. SARFU, as they were then called, promised to pump something like 13 million rand in 1 year into a general fund for rugby development in black underdeveloped areas. Now, part of the plan also was to employ 6,000 coaches to take rugby to the masses. Then they had an Operation Rugby program in which they promised that 40% of the profits of the 1995 World Cup was going to be used to upgrade more than 40 grounds in disadvantaged areas across the country. And they believed that from this they would be able to build a solid base of rugby players. I don't think this happened at all, in fact. To me, it turned out into one big marketing ploy. And like all marketing ploys, it fizzled out. Even Nelson Mandela was persuaded to buy into this, and to me, all the promises that were made then just didn't materialize. Today, we have something like 30 million people living in poverty in this country. I think it's a disgrace, actually. And our Gini coefficient is the widest in the world. I just can't see how rugby is going to make any difference to the lives of these people. On the contrary, I think what will happen is that they will try to use these poor black people to actually build up the idea of a rainbow nation. I think we must put this rainbow nation idea to bed.
You're saying also that, for example, let's talk about transformation in the sport. You say the search for representative teams is basically a pipe dream, given the continuing levels of poverty in many disadvantaged communities. So we've got competing priorities, and because, as you say, the promises of 95 are not fulfilled, we don't have club or school rugby in the townships. When talented players come along, they're quickly given bursaries or scholarships to go to attend at formerly white schools, and so the problem more or less remains the same.
I think, in fact, it got worse after 1995, because after 1995, you had this big spurt of professionalism, okay, and which actually killed off club rugby in a lot of the townships, especially I live in Cape Town, and this is one of the big issues down here. How the game was killed in the townships, and then also what happened was that at club rugby they also had to have transformation there. So what happened? The much better resourced clubs, white clubs, then went on poaching missions. And they started picking up the best black players in township teams, and this actually, in the end, I think it just killed a lot of clubs.
I mean, let's talk about what's happened, as particularly for the national team. I mean, when we lose 38-3 to a team like Ireland, which a few years ago would have been really able to beat on almost our worst day, one of the things that some people are going to blame easily, of course, is transformation.
Yes, I think it happens all the time, and this is tied into this whole springbok mentality, I believe. Every time this happens, it's either going to be the coach, if it's a black coach, or the black players. I mean, I don't need to prove this even. I mean, you just need to go onto some of the social media sites, and even in some of the media, the black players generally become the scapegoats. And this is one of the reasons why I think that the Springbok should go. I can't believe that an apartheid relic such as the Springbok should actually still be with us today. Look, I mean, in Cape Town we have a South African rugby museum, and most of the exhibits there are exhibits from the apartheid era. Why should we go into a museum to actually, to enthuse over, the records of the Frick du Preez and the Mannetjies Roos and people like that? I believe that you keep a record of what happened in that period. But the exhibits of the Apartheid Museum, like the Rugby Museum, like Apartheid itself, should go into either the Apartheid Museum, or they should rename that museum the Apartheid Rugby Museum.
When tickets, in some cases, can go for, up to 1,000 Rand for a single game, I mean, that surely is a slap in the face for most South Africans, particularly if we get this kind of tournament. It's going to leave them out.
Oh, yes, it definitely will, especially for the bigger games. But I suspect what will happen, with some of the other games, Canada versus, Russia or something like that. You're going to have lots of free tickets being handed out there, in the underprivileged areas. And I mean, the other thing is, that really sort of grates with me is the fact that this government, the South African government, is actually has to send guarantee for something like 150 million pounds, for this, which probably works out to a couple of billion rand. Why should our government actually pay that sort of money for people who, don't really believe that in the main, a lot of them don't believe that black players are good enough to be in the team. They're basically intruders in a Springbok team, and that's also one of the reasons why I believe that we should actually make a clean break with that nasty past, and start anew.
All right, Dougie Oakes, sports political writer on the line there from Cape Town. What are your thoughts?